Hey everybody, Leafy Concern here. I know that I've been posting on YouTube a lot lately. I don't know what restlessness is the cause of this, but I just want to put in a good word for this pamphlet that I got from the SEM Co-op, and I got it in the mail, and it is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, ever since I first found Samuel Greenberg by seeing him mentioned in an Ashbery poem. Yeah, the first time I saw Samuel Greenberg mentioned, it was in A Worldly Country, which is the first book by Ashbery that I ever bought. This is a hardcover edition that I picked up later, after actually losing my first paperback of this book, or maybe giving it to somebody. Of the East River's Charm, on page 36, is an homage to Samuel Greenberg, 1893 to 1917. We read memorial happiness and cover our tables with the great blossoms. Is the start of this, is like the epigraph at the start of this poem. And this title is taken directly out of the Greenberg Manuscripts. This is a poem by Samuel Greenberg. Also, that poem is selected by James Laughlin in his introductory essay. Well, at first it wasn't an introduction, it was a standalone essay that was published in an anthology, in an early New Directions anthology. But this poem, Ballad on Joy, is actually not contained in this little pamphlet, so this must mean that that Ashbery got his hands on one of the complete poems of Samuel Greenberg that Garrett Caples mentions in his introduction to this book. I also highly recommend A Worldly Country, but that's a subject for a different video. I basically just want to talk about how much I like this book here. So, in this pamphlet, you start out, you have a preface, which is the preface by Garrett Caples, which was written for the publication of this pamphlet, which is number 24 in the New Directions Poetry Pamphlet Series. It was published in 2019. He writes about how bad Hart Crane is and how cute James Laughlin's liking for Hart Crane is. But then he introduces Samuel Greenberg rather well and gives you a brief outline of his life and gives you the idea that he wrote in hospitals mostly, and reprints this portrait, which is, printed online a lot. And then what you get is a picture of the manuscript page that contains the sonnet of apology conduct. And then you get the start of the essay by James Laughlin. So already you have this novelistic interplay between two characters who are Garrett and James. And then you get the East River's Charm. So this is not of the, quote, East River's Charm. You get of the, quote, East River's charm. Or sorry, you get just the, quote, East River's Charm. And the poems just keep coming and getting better from there. At first, given how interesting this guy is, you're upset to only have like a 72-page pamphlet be the thing that comes up when you like Amazon search for this guy. But there's a lot of poetry in here, and the poem's indecipherability is also there, infinitude, etc. And you get these beautiful poems interspersed with Laughlin's original essay, which still contains the inaccuracies that Garrett points out in the introduction. They're reprinted here. And reprinting inaccuracies is part of the drama of this, because I'm sure that the inaccuracies that Garrett has are just printed in his essay. James's inaccuracies are printed. Samuel Greenberg's inaccuracies are printed. His misspellings and misuses of words, which are just about the most interesting parts, or they're some of the primary sources of spice in this collection, where the poems are also beautiful themselves. Here's the rest of the Pale Impromptu on the page. So you have more, this is from my little video I did earlier, but you have the rest of those stray poems interspersed with James's essay, and then you get a selection of 14 of the sonnets of apology, which are, I think there are about 70 of those sonnets, he says. And of these, my favorites right now are Immortality here, Immortality, which repeats a set of 4 lines at the start and end of the sonnet, which I found really nice. And then these ones with shorter lines, specifically conduct, lust, and essence, especially essence. And then, you know, at the end of this James Laughlin essay, you get one of Sam Greenberg's play synopses printed here, which is endlessly fascinating. You get like a closing poem, and then they also reprint this incriminating chart which shows all that Hart Crane stole from Sam Greenberg. I mean, if you haven't ordered this book already while watching this video, I don't know what's wrong with you. So this is, and then we get Garrett's selection. So after the drama of Garrett's salty introduction, James's old essay reprinted as like an anachronism and this heroic rescue, the stray poems, the sequence of sonnets, and then sort of molding into this this weird play synopsis, and then the incriminating chart reprinted in all its glory for you to contemplate. Like, all of these specific and unique literary objects have already, you know, delighted you, and now you get Garrett's selection of prose from the Greenberg manuscripts. You get this piece called Between Historical Life, which seems to be addressed to Daniel, who is also, I think, referenced in here. Yeah, I know that Daniel ate more fish and cabbage than any of us on the steamer. Not a bad name for a ship, Lake Ontario. And so he departed, from the old world to the new. And so you get, in this piece, Between Historical Life, you get descriptions of Austria, the trip from Austria to New York, and then I think being an artist in New York. And he sets up little poems that are within this prose piece. I mean, it's just so appealing. Vienna, the tale that father told afterward about the Vienna rolls that the bakery messenger left on the sill was a spark of fine comfort to me and sad enjoyment. And then you get a poem. Till the moving from a place to the Josephine gas and the birth of our beloved delicate Celia was a curious shout about the bird in the olive pond who brings babies back and forth, until I was sick of childish, unreal, wondering disgust. My nose was plaintive of unusually large play, a sight for those who wished to wipe it when the nostrils relieved tears. And so that's a really amazing piece. You got two more pieces in this selected prose section. There's some penciled underlines in here. At the end of Between Historical Life, you get these two paragraphs on poetical development, which are, I think, a little bit denser. They're a little less comprehensible. And then finally, you get this kind of supreme poem, which seems to be a combination both of thoughts on poetry and autobiography and something else. It seems to be also, he mentions dictation. It seems to be somewhat related to dictation and this desire to make art immediately out of his surroundings in the hospital ward, perhaps, because he describes that supper becomes ready, and I think like a woman distracts him from his writing. He stops writing and then makes the fact that he stopped writing part of the poem, and that piece is called Yiddish, or Impressions on Sentiment. Then you get additional poems from the Greenberg manuscripts, which is 9 further poems, some of which are nicely long, which are selected by Garrett. And this is just a slender selection from the poems that are available in all of the notebooks that are listed by Garrett and James in their introductions. We have Ward's Island Symphonique, If Days Were Months, Would Weeks Be Years, which is another delightful poem that's got a nice bracketed or refrain-heavy feel, like that poem Immortality that I was telling you about. Glass Bubbles, The Birds That Lost Their Trees, A Shining Line, which would be great to scan and send. The Persian House of Brick in the Desert. Hindu Horizon, which is this really cool, rough exploration of just rhymes, of him learning rhymes, saying things like, and tales of Genesis whisper that searched through the crave of the unknowable solicitor that spent with charm o'er a grave. Then you get this nice, happy Railroad Joy, which closes with the line, while comfortably seated in the cars, attention of our surroundings is impossibly restful. So, you know, there's also those moments of extreme lucidity, which, gosh, are just as good as the moments of kind of groundbreaking obscurity. I don't know, or fresh obscurity. And then you get A Night at Westerhoff, Patterson, New Jersey. And then it closes with this poem, which Garrett Caples informs you is his favorite poem, the poem that he finds most ambitious by Sam Greenberg, which is called The Tusks of Blood, which is really quite nice. It seems to proceed from like travel and a desire to make a poem about travel, to this presence of a woman who sheds some light, someone somewhat like the Diane from who taught him, or who is one of his instructors in art. And from that woman to a boy, to some lad who says, he was a marked lad who poorly helped himself. What should this mean? Fill your pockets. I'll let you know the grass of a grave. And so there's this boy, and then it kind of closes with this really, really beautiful plea for a teacher, preacher, unbleacher. And then that's the end of the pamphlet. So that was just like a little overview. But I don't know, highly recommend this. I hope to like read bits of this closer, and maybe make videos about bits of them like closer, and just further work to like memorize the specific cadences found in here. Yeah, it's great. Bye.